Hello again, welcome back to Football Spy Online, sponsored by our friends at Renault, and there are just 6 shopping days to go before the end of the window. The Football Spy team will stand down from the close of play next Tuesday at 5 p.m, but not before we keep you up to date with all the old faces, the new names and surprise transfers over the next few days. And this one really would have been a surprise to make you spill your coffee. Sven-Göran Eriksson, the new director of football at Notts County, tried to sign none other than the former European Footballer of the Year, Pavel Nedved. He's still only 36, but very much a he-man, and he would have been quality at that level, even at his age. But Nedved, who won the Italian title under Eriksson at Lazio, retired from football at the end of last season, and despite negotiations going on for weeks, wouldn't change his mind. It does give you an indication, though, of the financial firepower that County have got, because Nedved wouldn't have come cheap in terms of his wages. And something tells me also we're going to be talking a lot more about County in January's Football Spy. Talking of old footballers, take a look at this in the Times. Shevchenko, the third highest scorer in the history of the Champions League, unlikely to play for Chelsea in this season's competition as they won't give him a squad number. It means that he could be out before Tuesday with his old club Dynamo Kiev and also Zenit St. Petersburg interested. But one golden oldie who could be on his way into Chelsea is David Beckham. Here's a star. Glenn Hoddle says here that Becks needs to play at Chelsea with their top-class players if he wants to go to the World Cup. Remember, Capello's already said that Becks has got no chance of going to South Africa unless he's playing in Europe this season. As for the younger players set to move clubs, let's go through a few of them. The Spurs striker Roman Pavlyuchenko scored a wonderful goal in the Carling Cup last night to remind Harry Redknapp that he's still a force to be reckoned with. But we all know that regardless of what he says, Harry doesn't really fancy him, and we expect Big Pav to be out of White Hart Lane by Tuesday. Spartak Moscow like him, here's the mirror, but they've got no chance if they're only offering £10 million. Spurs want the £13.8 million that they paid for him, and we expect someone to pay that by next week. Who will Spurs get in? Well, there's been talk about Ruud van Nistelrooy again, but Harry knocked that one on the head after Spurs beat Doncaster last night. I still think there might be a move for the Bayern Munich striker Luca Toni, who's still scoring goals for Italy. But whatever happens, we will keep you in touch with what goes on there. Now, before we move on, you will know by now that we're taking your messages on anything now that the football season's well underway. And lots of you have been asking what I think of the dive by the Arsenal striker Eduardo in last night's Champions League win over Celtic. Well, here's what the Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger had to say about it after the match.
I'm not sure if a goalkeeper, I believe really it was not a penalty, but I'm not sure that the keeper didn't touch him with his right knee, having seen it again. And I believe that Eduardo as well, with what happened to him, I'm a bit cautious, because he might have jumped out of the way as well.
I think Wenger might have been better off saying he didn't see it. Of course Eduardo dived, but I want to ask you all this. Would you accept a penalty for your team knowing that your player dived to get it? Or would you be unhappy with him? Let me know your views on YouTube or on the Spy email. Time for your messages, and lots of you asking why there are so many people presenting Spy. Well, it's because we all have different views just as you do, and also because sometimes I actually do have to go out and do some real work for a change. But bad halves wondering how long Spurs will stay top of the Premier League table. Well, they should be too good for Birmingham on Saturday, but the next 2 games after that will be a real test of how good they are, because they face Manchester United at home and then Chelsea away. Man United Rooney is not convinced that his team should go for Arjen Robben. He says, what is Sir Alex going to do with 6 wingers if he gets him? Well, Robben can play as a deep-lying striker, but I do understand what you mean about paying around £26 million for him, as he is very injury-prone. Let's take one more. Attitude Era wants news on Sunderland. Well, Roy Keane not happy with some of his underachieving players at Ipswich, and he's shipping them out and bringing 4 players from Sunderland in. They are Carlos Edwards, Grant Ledbetter, Daryl Murphy and Nyron Noseworthy. We've had confirmation today that they've accepted bids from Ipswich for them, so they should make Ipswich a much better side. As for Sunderland themselves, they're in for this man. He's the ENPPI defender Ahmed Al-Muhammadi. He's 21 and Sunderland want him on a season-long loan. Now, we've made some new friends here on Football Spy. You'll be hearing more from the chaps who make the game Football Manager over the next few days. In fact, we'll be having a bit of breakfast with them tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that. But in the meantime, those of you who've played the games over the last couple of seasons will know all about this player. He's the 18-year-old Lille striker Eden Hazard. He's a really, really good player in real life. I mean, so good, in fact, that it's being tracked by none other than Man United. One quick thing, though, if you've seen him in action, I want you to tell me if you can tell me the story behind his goal celebrations, because we can't seem to make out what or why he's doing it. So let us know if you know. Here's some news in brief for you. And Birmingham are about to sign the striker Tuncay from Middlesbrough for £5 million. Fulham are close to signing the Austrian striker Mark Kianko on a season-long loan with a view to a £6 million deal if he can score as many goals here as he's done over there. West Brom want to sign the Auxerre defender Gabriel Tamas on a season-long loan. The Livorno striker Alessandro Diamanti should soon complete his move to West Ham. Some good news coming at the end of a terrible week for that club. Bolton want to sign the Kevin Nolan from Newcastle, the striker Hugo Almeida from Werder Bremen, and the powerful African midfielder Achille Emana from Real Betis. And Wolves have bid £1.8 million for the Reading midfielder James Harper. Now, before we move on, I want you to take a look at these. They're the magazines that show pictures of the stories behind Liverpool's and Man United's 18 title wins as they race for a possible 19th league title. Using the Daily Mirror's picture archives, both of these magazines tell the stories behind the victories and how they were reported at the time. Go to mirrorfootball.co.uk for all the details on how to pick them up. The Frank Ribery competition continues. His Bayern Munich side have had a bad start to the season, a bit like Lescott at Everton. We at Spy still think he'll move clubs, with Bayern using the cash from the sale to buy new players, which is why the competition to win the total 90 shoot 2 boots continues. You know the deal. Guess how much he goes for. Include your boot size. If you're right and we pick you, you win the boots. Now, Henry Cook thinks he'll go for £48.5 million. Kevin in California thinks £58 million. And Marete Mengesha thinks £45 million. Mark Kane in Glasgow thinks £36 million. And just on your email, Mark Kane, I do think Aidan McGeady at Celtic would be a great buy for Spurs. Redknapp watched him in action against Arsenal last week. Some more stories for you, and Man City's spending might not be over just yet. They've handed a trial to the Vojvodina striker Daniel Aleksic. We'll see if we can dig out some footage of him in action for you. The Mail say that Sunderland have nipped in to see if they can pinch the Hull defender Michael Turner for a knockdown £6 million. Liverpool were keen, but they've gone cold. And all of you Chelsea fans wanting news on players coming in might be interested in this. The sporting director Frank Arneson is trying to push through a deal for the Feyenoord midfielder Jonathan de Guzman. He can play wide or up the middle. He's a Dutch under-21 international. He's got just a year left on his contract. He scored twice in the club's 4-0 win over Roda on Sunday, and Chelsea scouts were there to see him. I hope you're here to see a bit more Spy tomorrow, in associations, of course, with our friends at Renault and our friends at Football Manager. And yes, I will be here. I'll see you next time.